Hello everyone, and welcome back to Spare a Thought, the podcast that shines a light on the people, ideas, issues and organisations that are often overlooked or misrepresented in the media. I'm your host, Tom Spare. This is the fourth season of the podcast. All of the previous episodes can be found in the show notes. The theme for this season is educating for the future. In the previous episode, I interviewed Chris Thorpe, a senior engineer at a photonics company that's based in the southwest of England, to discuss getting kids into STEM, sciences, technology, engineering and mathematics. Today, I'm excited to share a conversation with Sam Cullis, the executive director of London Breeze Film Festival. Sam was my former film studies teacher, so we had a lot to catch up on. And he has a really inspiring story of how he created his own path for himself in the film world. We'll talk about the festival's origin story, from its beginnings as the Barnes Film Festival to its rebranding as London Breeze in 2023. We're going to talk about the purpose of the film festival today, which aims to be the home for emerging filmmakers and to give a platform for diverse voices. We'll also discuss how the festival has had to adapt during the pandemic by going online, and how that change led to international submissions and an expansion of the festival. And we'll also learn some of the fascinating new initiatives of the festival, which are helping support underrepresented filmmakers, including the Young Black Filmmakers Fund. So let's get into it and spare a thought for Filmmakers of the Future with Sam Cullis.
Whether you like them or not, young shall grow. Better fill them with love.
Okay, hi Tom. I'm Sam Cullis, Executive Director of the London Breeze Film Festival, entering our 10th year this year. Wanted to come on Spare a Thought for a long time now, and it's great that we've found a slot that we can both do.
Before we talk about finding the filmmakers of the future, I'd like to learn a bit more about you. Often at school, there are career days and teenagers are asked what they want to do in the future. When you were a teenager, what did you want to be when you grew up, and have you followed that path?
It's probably easiest to explain the sort of education I had. I'm from the same neck of the woods as you, Tom, and ended up going to a local grammar school in Sandwich in Kent, which was pretty academic, but quite limited in terms of creative choices you could do. I always felt I was quite a creative chap, and at A-level, where as a teenager I really loved film, and that was a big passion of mine. I couldn't really choose subjects at A-level or GCSE that stimulated that, and I ended up doing your classic English, history. I had a bit of creativity. I did art and music at A-level as well. But those who wanted to do anything in the media world, film media related, they ended up going to local colleges to various degrees of success. And I probably, or maybe I should have done that, but I stuck with the school I was at, which was I was very happy there. But I ended up going down that slightly more academic route and went to university and did English and history at university. I did a few modules in film, and especially when I had a year out in America, which was fantastic, and got to experience their education and did some really interesting war film modules and comedic genre modules, which was great because you could build up your units out there. And that really got me thinking, maybe I'd chosen the wrong degree. Anyway, cut long story short, I went into teaching following university, and trained graduate training program in English at the school that you well know, St Edmunds. I should probably make listeners aware that Tom is actually one of my ex-students, one of my star students from St Edmunds School in Dover, where I didn't actually teach you English, as you know, Tom. I inherited a fantastic department from a really inspirational guy called Ray Wilkinson, who taught you as well, Tom. And maybe you can say a few words about him in a minute. But for me, he used to be a fisherman and came into teaching late, and was just one of those guys that lit up a room inspired everyone around him. And he was teaching film and media and got me involved in that. And then sadly he passed away probably a year or two after I'd been teaching film and media as well as English. So I suddenly inherited film and media as a subject, which I taught at Dover for a few years after that before I moved to London and did the same there. So I kind of ended up maneuvering into the subject area that I was interested in by chance, really. It was a bit of a teenage dream to get into film, a bit of a pipe dream, but I ended up getting there in a educational level, and therefore my job kind of became to inspire the next generation of filmmakers, film lovers to go down the right path, and that led me to the festival, and I'll get onto that later. But creating the right career paths and opportunities was a real inspiration for me to get the film festival that we'll discuss in a bit up and running. Did I answer your question there? I'm not sure I did.
That was very good. Yeah, no, that was perfect segue into the next question. But before I ask that, I suppose we should talk about Ray, because he was a big inspiration for me as a student, and his line "movies are meant to move you" is the thing that's always stuck with me.
I used that one.
Yeah. Just use the cachet there, because it's a good one, and it's true that I after he said that to us in a class quite early on, I just thought, well, actually, there are good and bad films, but you can take from a bad film, and if it moves you in some way, if it's just a scene or an interaction between characters or the theme of music or something, if it's done something to you, then it has been effective in some way. But also, it should be a thing that you come out with your perspective changed after seeing. That's what the good films, that's what the exceptional films do. What did he teach you, I guess, or what did you learn from him in his style of teaching?
Were you in the lesson? I don't know if this was your lesson, where he erected a shower curtain on the table and reenacted the Psycho scene. Were you in that one?
No, I think I heard of that though.
Yeah, well, I relatively new to teaching, saw that, and I was wow, blown away. This is a completely different, because there was some really tough kids in that school, and he managed to tap into every single one of them through his energy and his he didn't try and he wasn't going at them with modern films. He was talking about cult classics, and he wasn't changing his passion was for films of the 60s, and he still delivered that, but in a really inspirational way. And I can't admit to having ever erected a shower screen in a lesson, but I realized at that point that you have to think outside the box to engage with every type of learner, which is not something I do on a daily basis, but I do try and think about each student as their own. Everyone's different. Everyone's got a different learning style, and that's probably the thing he taught me very early on. Try and get through to them in any way you can. You were different, Tom. You were very hardworking and studious, and people like yourselves, you'll thrive whatever the teacher probably. But there are others that probably need a little bit more creative thinking.
And when, I suppose, because you sort of mentioned this, that he helped you think differently about teaching, and you left St Edmunds, you went to teach in London. How did the festival sort of start? Because Hollywood is obsessed with the origin story. So what is the origin story of the London Breeze Film Festival?
Well, linked to that, and then before I go on to the festival, when I was at university and when I just left school, I tried to get work experience in London. Being from Kent, it was really difficult to get a foot in the door, and B, afford to be able to, even if you got that opportunity, living in London, unless you are from London, to do work experience, which is generally, it's not paid. So you're having to find accommodation, work for free in a big city, which you don't have much knowledge of. It's really, really tough, and I found it pretty much impossible to do that. as a result, when I came to London and when I started teaching at a school in Barnes, I realised that the opportunities tended to be for a certain class of people, and I wanted to try and create some pathways for the underrepresented, more diverse groups, different social classes, and that's why I set up the festival, was to put the work on the screen of filmmakers who maybe don't have it easy, as I didn't. Not that I'm saying I'm a filmmaker, but I did, even to get into the industry was something I found a real challenge, and that's where it came from, really.
And how did you find, so as you say, you weren't a filmmaker going into it. How did you find establishing the festival to start with? Because you're going from quite a relatively low base level in terms of, connections into the industry and so on.
Well, we started as Barnes Film Festival, which I think is when you came along to it, in 2016. And it was a weekend-long festival purely for young people. So being a teacher, it was obviously the connection there. So we put on some screenings, put some youth film on at local cinema, beautiful independent cinema, the Olympic Studios, which has got real prestige, and that sort of put us on the map a little bit, I suppose. But also the area of Barnes, although it's a very quaint little part of London and not many people know about it, it is full of film producers, film directors, actors. They all live around those parts. Probably a connection many years ago to Pinewood, perhaps. The connection to White City. So there's a lot of creative industry around there. And it enabled me to get some really big names from the start. Stanley Tucci, Vanessa Redgrave. They all very kindly came and supported us from the beginning, to name a few. And it enabled us to get press and up and running really quickly, where most festivals tend to not really last beyond 3 or 4 years. We were able to establish ourselves until lockdown, which I'll talk about in a minute as well. We gathered momentum really quickly and enabled us to grow from this kind of weekend-long festival, which was predominantly youth. I realised emerging filmmakers aren't always under 18. You could be a 50-year-old changing career and have loved film all your life, a bit like Ray Wilkinson, who changed into teaching film. And we wanted to give opportunities for everybody, not just young people, but anyone who wanted to start that career path or change career path into film, filmmaking, and give them an audience. Because I think an audience in this day and age, a physical live audience, is really important.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And what's the purpose of the festival now as it sort of developed? Well, actually, I suppose, yeah, let's pick up from when the pandemic comes. What impact does that have on your?
Yeah. So that had a big impact on us, just because we're a small independent festival run by volunteers at this time, and we found that obviously lockdown happened. We wanted to keep going, so we had to put on this online. We were one of the first festivals to put on an online platform where we still showcase the films via this platform, which enables suddenly to get. I realised, just looking at the statistics post festival, that we were suddenly internationally being looked at, and there were a lot of people that were, probably due to the names, George Mackay, Edgar Wright, people like that, who. And we even had Tom Holland on at this time as well. As you can imagine, he's got a fairly big audience. So we were suddenly all over the world. People were looking at the festival online, and that enabled us to open up submissions internationally. So suddenly we went from this kind of small local film festival to being not only UK wide but international, because we could take submissions and play them online. And then thankfully, when lockdown and we were able to get finished and we were able to get back in cinemas, we did a skeleton festival where we had, if you don't even remember, you had to sit several seats apart. Cinemas were about a quarter full because you couldn't put any more in than that. But we also continued to run this online platform, which we still do today. which enables to play more films than physically. So we play all the selected films physically. We put them online as well for those who can't make the festival. So we're now offering both, which is great, and it was forced upon us, but it kind of made us, it sped up the process.
Cool.
Yeah.
And when did it go from being Barnes to being the London Breeze Film Festival?
You know what? I had to look this up. It was 2023. It seems like we've been Breeze for a while now, but a lot has happened in the last couple of years. So when we went from 2 days to 5 days and then a week long, we were suddenly playing films from, as I say, international and UK wide, but we were playing in cinemas around London by this point as well. Fast forward a couple of years. So we weren't just using the Olympic. We went to Battersea Power Station, the cinema there. We were screening at the Garden Cinema in Soho, the Phoenix Cinema, various cinemas around London. And it seemed at that time that the name needed to change. We wanted to reflect the fact that we were offering these kind of new, young, fresh voices, not necessarily young, but new, fresh voices in film. And the name Breeze just seemed to reflect that. And when we did transition from Barnes to Breeze, so we had built this audience up. A lot of people hadn't heard of Breeze, obviously, and we brought in new audiences as a result. And we then offered year-round films, panels, various events that enabled us to kind of grow this Breeze name very quickly into what is now, I think, one of the most established or fastest growing anyway festivals in London. And that's where we are now.
Yeah, and that's an incredible, and I've noticed that just from the social media presence and the content that the festival's putting out there. So what's the purpose now of the festival, given there's been that quick development, and then also I suppose how do you decide on how do you curate that as well, because obviously that's a much bigger sort of undertaking throughout the year rather than just the weekends, how it started.
Well, we aim to be, is still from its beginnings, we wanted to be a home for emerging filmmakers. We want to be the festival that you come to if you've made your first film, your first feature, your first short in documentary, animation, fiction, because we are more likely to play it than most other festivals who tend to pick, well, similar films seem to do the circuit. You'll notice this, that if you win at London Film Festival, you'll win at everything else, and we're trying to give people who have spent a lot of money making film, but also to get it out to the festival is an expensive thing to do as well. So we're trying to give those voices, or get those voices heard. So we'd like to be considered the home of emerging filmmakers. And your second question about curation, we've got our festival coordinator who was hoping to be with us today. She sends her apologies, Madeline Casey, and her assistant Emily Bolt, who are both incredible young ladies who are our curation team, and they curate and try and focus on first-time filmmakers predominantly, but also diverse voices as well. So we try and intertwine the two. So curation is a long process that starts as soon as the film festival finishes. We open submissions. We are taking more and more every year. So this year we close, I don't know when this pod is going out, but we close at the end of July. We've already got far more submissions than we had last year. So we have a team of shortlisters who shortlist the films throughout the year to get them to the next level. And then when they're selected, we have a short list, which we then, or a long list, sorry, which we then shortlist. And that's when I will get involved as well. And various other, our creative director, Nathan Reeder, is a Sheffield Film Festival documentary winner who particularly knows his stuff in the documentary world. We then refine the program and try and create themes around the films we've selected. So I will add that, amazing films do not get selected. We can't select everything. So it's a really tough I mean, it's arduous for us, but it's really tough for any filmmaker having their film out there like this, and all filmmakers go through rejection, and it's no different with Breeze. You know, we will have to reject a large amount of films, which I hate, but it is part of the process.
And I suppose that's obviously it's very difficult, but also, you know, it's great to see there's so much engagement with it and so many people want to put films forward. And I guess as you say, like the piece around rejection and the challenges that emerging filmmakers are facing. What advice would you give to new filmmakers and those perhaps who are further along in their career but want to pivot into the world of film?
Well, in many ways, it's getting easier to make films. So I think go out there and just start creating. Don't waste any time. You can use your phone. There's free software online. Get out there and start making content. Be original. Try, you know, if you're coming from a different world, you may have a more unique story to tell than existing filmmakers. So be truthful to yourself and try and tell a story that is unique to you. Try and collaborate as much as possible with other filmmakers. And that's where festivals come in. You know, go to festivals and meet people who are in a similar boat, because filmmaking is such a collaborative process that you're not going to be able to do it on your own, and you need a team of people. It's a physical job making a film. You need various people to even make the simplest of films. As you'll know yourself, Tom, you know, you've made film. It's a long process, and you're not going to be able to do it on your own. So maybe what did I say? Get out there and start doing. Be unique, be yourself, and collaborate with other people. I think they're three really important things for anyone who's going into it now. If you're already in it, you know that anyway.
Yeah. And what I guess what are the biggest challenges that emerging filmmakers are facing, and what sort of how does the festival help filmmakers overcome those challenges?
Well, it's getting into the industry. It's firstly financing your film. It's expensive. Making a film is really tough to do. Once you've made your film, then having that film accepted into festivals, you know, having the opportunity of showcasing your film is really difficult. So you're going to have to get used to rejection. Pathways for certain people are more difficult than others. So there are more challenges for, you know, female filmmakers, black filmmakers, diverse filmmakers, which is what we're trying to help with. You know, this year we've started a Young Black Filmmakers Fund, which we have collaborated with TikTok on, and we're offering up to 10K in funding for a team of people who pitch at this festival this year. So we're going to shortlist. In fact, that closes as well on the 1st of August. We're going to be shortlisting 3 to 5 film pitches at the festival, which will then go on to they'll use the money to make the film, which will premiere next year, hopefully, and which will give it BAFTA qualification as well. So we're trying to create those pathways and incubate these films within the festival to help people along their way. This year we're going to launch the very similar female filmmakers pitching competition for next year, which will offer female filmmakers that same opportunity to get funding, which is so notoriously difficult to get. Not only that, but get support on the festival journey and get their film premiered at some well-established festivals as well. So we're trying everything we can. I mentioned about going to film festivals. We try and put on as many different, I guess we act as an educational establishment in that we're trying to teach filmmakers, producers, whatever a role you have. We're offering things at the festival, which are very cheap, if not free, to go to. So we're running this year up to 4 or 5 days of industry events, which people should come along to, and as I say, collaborate, meet people, and try and create opportunities that aren't necessarily out there otherwise. Which is roundabout back to our ethos. We're trying to support emerging filmmakers in their journey.
And how did the Young Black Filmmakers Fund sort of come about? And I mean that's really cool that you're partnering with TikTok, for example. I mean, obviously they've got a huge...
Yeah, again, it's about with TikTok. It's great to align with them because they are the youth brand out there at the moment, and I think that helps our marketing. It helps to get that fund out to a much wider group than the bottleneck of London Breeze's film festival marketing can do. So it's been brilliant for that. And we did a launch at the Ritzy in Brixton in July, which loads of influence came to, and we had national press at it and things. So it was great. But the idea came about from one of our judges last year, Alex Kay, who is a BAFTA-winning short film maker himself, who is an incredibly inspirational guy. I got talking, as ever, these things kind of happen over a beer. I was trying to get him involved with the festival, and he said, "Look, I've got this idea. I want to do it with you. I want to do it now." I said, "Well, these things take time. We'll aim for it in 2026." He said, "No, we're doing it now. We're not doing it at all." And him and I suppose together got it over the line in 2 months. TikTok, came on board, and we were off. And it was established. I mean, he's one of these people who found it very difficult to, as a filmmaker, to find his way. He managed it, but even now, he's trying to fund his first feature, and he's struggling with what is an amazing idea to get the right people involved, and it's difficult. So the fund came from that basis, and it's there now. They were hoping to expand it next year to offer different aspects to the fund as well. So we're offering it to groups and various other aspects we've discussed, but I won't go into that now because we've got a festival coming up in October, and all sorts of... I'm spinning plates, Tom, as per usual, and I don't want to get overexcited, which I also tend to.
Moving on more to looking at the future as you're trying to develop emerging filmmakers. Given there's a growing tension between the arts and technology, with concerns like AI, falling cinema attendance, and also something that goes a little bit under the radar but cuts to humanities programs at universities. How do you see the role of film festivals like London Breeze in safeguarding and nurturing the filmmakers of the future, given all those challenges?
That's a great question. Well, firstly, you mentioned the curation earlier. Human curation, selection by passionate film individuals, lovers of film that we have on our team who are selecting these films and watching them, and we try and have 4 or 5 sets of eyes on every film. We are doing that and producing content, which I think is really important. That isn't algorithmic. It's been selected by us, and we are hopefully expanding people's horizons through the curated programs that we put on. So that's the first thing. I think there is we want to get people in cinemas. Even Tom Cruise is struggling to get people in cinemas. We want to get people in cinemas. We want them to enjoy the experience. We want them to be moved, as Ray Wilkinson said. And I went to our programs last year, and I'd seen all the films individually, but I was coming out of some of these programs weeping, laughing. That sensation is quite rare, and coming to our festival and other festivals like ours gives those sensations, those opportunities to be moved. So I think that's really important. In terms of looking after the welfare of these humanity subjects. We're acting as a gateway for creators. We're acting as an educational body almost. So we're trying to give these opportunities for filmmakers who perhaps aren't at university, aren't at college. Maybe they're doing it on their own, but we're trying to support them through the things that we do, which are probably very similar to the opportunities that they get at university as well. So yeah, that we're working alongside educational establishments to try and provide development for emerging filmmakers.
The London Breeze Film Festival is taking place in October. When and where is the festival taking place, and what should we expect from this year's edition of the festival?
Okay, so our 10th festival is happening from the 22nd to the 26th of October in and around London, various iconic locations, including the Garden Cinema, Riverside Studios, Battersea Power Station. So there's various locations which will all go on our website very soon. As soon as we actually almost locked the program for this year, way ahead of schedule, which is very unlike us. We're just got to choose the films in competition now. But you can expect our hybrid model again. Now our in-person events, but also our online aspect as well. We will have over 100 curated films for everybody to watch in person or online, which includes the in-competition films that people can watch, vote for. We have an audience award again this year. We have some immersive VR, XR stuff from the Royal College of Art, which will be on at the Riverside Studios for a few days, which is amazing. I went into a Palestinian world from the 1920s last year, which was incredible. So there's all sorts of creative stuff like that going on. We have the industry days I mentioned earlier, which people who may not have entered films but equally might have done might want to try and meet people, collaborate, learn new things. We've got parties. We've got the opening and closing party. We have all sorts of panels, Q&As, in-person Q&As. So yeah, some really exciting stuff going on. It's our most packed program to date, as you would expect from our 10th anniversary. And yeah, it's coming pretty soon, Tom. So I'm getting excited, also nervous for the filmmakers who are waiting to hear whether they've been selected or not. But one new thing we're doing this year, we're going to do a secret screening as well.
Oh,
which means that we're not going to announce what the film is, but you can get tickets to go and see. We're not going to announce where the location is either. So you'll get a ticket and you won't know what the film is, and you won't know where the location in London is, but hopefully you enjoy it.
That's very cool. That's the end of my questions. I didn't know if you had any final thoughts at the conclusion of this.
Well, you are someone who did film at A-level, and you're now entering a new career when's your new job start? In August?
In August, yeah.
What have you taken from a lifetime so far of being a film lover, and how might you see yourself being involved in film in the future? Or is that it for you now? Are you into...
That's a good question. Yeah. That's interesting. I've always loved film from a very young age. Star Wars was my entry point, which I think is the same for a lot of people, that, sci-fi and the escape of being in another world. And that really became a reality for me when my mum took me to the Barbican in London for a sort of Star Wars related exhibition, and I was expecting to walk inside the Millennium Falcon, and then it turned out to be a model.
Oh no!
And I was like, oh, man, that's a bit of a disappointment. Like, I was expecting to be met by Han Solo and Chewie and all that sort of thing. But then I thought, wow, okay, so these people put this thing together. Mm-hmm. And ever since, I've always been fascinated by the lives and the stories behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And I've learned so much from watching films, but also the behind the scenes of collaboration, about, people coming together, how to tell good stories. And that's what I learned from film. I watch the film, but then I also love all the things that come around it. The press tours are always quite funny because actors are knackered and don't really want to be there. And then sometimes there's all these sort of memeable things that appear from the press tour. There's the film itself and what it says about the world we're living in. And that's the same for film and TV. The TV series Andor, for example, speaks a lot to the moment which we're going through.
I've heard some great things about that, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly second season and the parallels with Trump and so on. Mm-hmm. But also the messages that go out there. I mean, you think about, Charlie Chaplin's film where he plays a dictator, and the lines that he gives there and what it says about our moment now. So yeah, I think that's what I learned from film. I would at some point like to make films. I've made little films and documentaries and stuff. But I would like to write and, write scripts and everything. And hopefully through podcasting is a way of storytelling in itself. So I think I want to do something more creative with the podcast beyond interviews, like actually making creative work through like multimedia sort of side of stuff.
Yeah. Well, look, documentary is a hugely growing medium, and I think that's another good starting point. If you've got a story to tell, and hopefully we don't lose creatives like yourself, and maybe there is an opportunity to later in life, as hopefully Breeze does, give opportunities for Tom Spare to make something and give you that screen to play your film on.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. But also I suppose it's a good opportunity to thank you for sort of getting me sort of passionate about filmmaking as well, and for being a great teacher, and Ray obviously as well, and his legacy. I'm sure he'd be super proud of you. So.
Really be super proud of you, Tom, and it's a pleasure to see you after so many years. And I'm amazed, actually, my children are still watching something in the other room. It's Studio Ghibli, don't worry, it's not YouTube Kids or anything. They're cultured young children.
Oh well, yeah, it's been great chatting to you, Sam, and all the best for the festival, and we'll make sure we share all the right links so people can see what the festival's all about.
Thanks ever so much, Tom.
Cool, thank you. What a great conversation that was with Sam. It's inspiring to see how he's taken his own personal passion for film and used it to create opportunities for others. It was also a pleasure to talk about the legacy of my former teacher and Sam's former colleague, Ray Wilkinson, and his memorable line, "Movies are meant to move you." As Sam mentioned, the London Breeze Film Festival is taking place from October the 22nd to the 26th in and around London. This year, they're celebrating their 10th anniversary with a packed programme including over 100 curated films, an audience award, and even a secret screening where the film and location will be a surprise. For information and to check out the film festival, be sure to visit their website and social media, which I'll link in the show notes. And if you want to get more content from me, you can find exclusive insights, behind the scenes stories, and extended reflections by subscribing to my Substack, which is also linked in the show notes. The title track for this show is Young Shall Grow, credit and thanks to Afrocluster, Magugu, and Asha Jane. Spare4 is a Be The Change Media Network production. Thanks for listening.
Whether you like